usually look at these government contracts and kind of what my workflow is of submitting proposals and also doing the sources sought. So what you see here is kind of a list of government contracts, and then on here it has the notice ID, the title, the description, when you need to respond by, and then a lot of it when it first starts, it starts more of like where you see these white lines, and then as if I'm working it, I'm kind of putting in the number, right, and the email, right, and then I change the colors depending on where I'm at with the workflow, and then I will also make notes. As you can see here, I'll make notes as I'm calling and working it. So this is, if you scroll to the bottom here, you'll see kind of like a legend. And if it's white, that just means I want to reach out to them, but I haven't started working it yet. If it's the blue, that means it's more of a sources sought, and meant I sent them an email along with a capability statement, and I'll show you what those emails looks like. If it's in this kind of magenta color or pink, that pretty much means when I reached out to them, the contracting officer responded back. If it's blue, that means I've reached out to a supplier, right, that we're subcontracting out to, and I asked them for a quote, but they haven't sent the quote back. So you can see these people here. I asked for a quote, they just haven't sent the quote back. If it's purple, that means I've received the quote. So for these ones, I received the quote, and I just need to move forward in it. And the next step would be I'm going to submit a bid or a proposal because I received the quotes. And then if it's green, that means a proposal has been accepted. If it's red, that pretty much means I've moved on for it, or they chose someone else. So, or I felt it would be too hard for us to do, right? So how do we actually compile this list? So this list I update it probably every 2 weeks or whatever. So obviously 31st is coming up, so we need some more to go out. So first thing we would do is we're going to come to sam.gov, and once we come to sam.gov, right, this is the home screen. I'm signed in just because when you sign in, it allows you to have I can save kind of like some filters to save me some time, but you don't have to sign in. You can kind of still do it. Once you come in, you're going to hit search. All right. Once you hit search, like I said, I have some saved criteria, and so you can see it here. So I'll usually hit this. Now, why do I want to have the saved criteria? It's just because I know these agencies, they kind of have what we're selling. And then so it just automatically puts the agencies in. And then usually what I'm looking for is the solicitations or the sources sought. So let's go over some of these, right? Usually, one more thing. When I do a custom date, I usually go maybe 2 weeks out. So for example, today's the 18th. So I would probably go from the 24th and then to the 31st, right? So that, because I need some time to be able to, once I pull the list, there's going to be some time for me to make the calls and for them to get back to me to be able to get a quotation, and then from the quotation I can make a proposal, or I can come up with the estimate, and then from the estimate I can make the proposal. So I need some time to do that. So let's say that was it, but we wouldn't do that because I've already gone out to the 31st. So ideally, the next thing would be probably after the 31st. Now, why do you only want to do it 2 weeks? It's just because if you only do it 2 weeks, right, they could still change the funding, and then you can do all this work for a proposal. And if you don't, and then they change the funding, and then you can't even submit, right? Because the government changed the funding and they no longer want the solicitation. So usually if it's 2 weeks out, it's kind of past that. So I go 2 weeks at a time. So once we do that, you'll usually, so let's just say this is what I was trying to do, right? And there's some things over here. So if I was only looking for solicitations, and that's a lot what you see over here. Most of these I do solicitations, and then at times I'll have the sources sought, but I might do a separate sort for a separate search for the sources sought. So then what usually happens is if we're going back, it's going to look something like this. So we get this, and then I'm going to come over to actions, and then I'm going to download it. Once I download it, right, just because this is also a lot, I might first, one of the things I might do first is a place of performance, and just go over here to Nevada and then see if it kind of shrinks that down, right? So there's not a lot of stuff that's going on just in Nevada. So then I'll open it up, and then I'll probably take off the sources sought and say, hey, do everything like that, right? There's still only 3, and that's because of Nevada, and I'll take Nevada off. And so now we're kind of at 1,000. And if I want to tighten it up just even more, I might do a set aside, and the set aside, I only want to see total small businesses set aside, right? Just because it shrinks down the competition, and that puts it to 379. So after that, let's say I take this 379 list, then I'm usually going to go over here, right? And it's going to give it to me in this format. And so I usually will take it and I'll paste it here, as you can see on this first sheet. And then I go through it, right, on the stuff that really are only services and that I feel I kind of understand it and I can do it real simple. And so then I'll highlight it. And you can see I've gone through these and highlighted it. I feel I can do ground maintenance, custodial service, land appraisal service. I kind of understand that. Various spares, I might not understand that, so I didn't mess with it. Like fiber optic cable installation. I mean, I might be able to figure that out, but I don't know what that is. Expansion joint, stuff like that. So anyway, I go through all these, and then once I do that, right, I take those highlighted ones, and I might, before I do this, before I add it here, I might make another sheet. So I would make another sheet. I'll post it here. I'll sort it in by date of when it's due, right? So then once I do that, the sheet, once it's sorted, then so the response date, so it's in order, then I'll add it to here at the bottom, and I'll just start working through it, right? I'll probably add up, if I was doing it here, I would add a couple more rows, right? I'll do that. And then once I add the rows, I'll add the new things in, and then just some formatting, and then we do it. All right, so once we got this list, right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to start working it. So let's just say that I haven't worked this one. I'm just going to do this one because I've done some work on it, and so you can see the entire process, right? So the first things first is I would take this, I would copy this notice ID, and then I would go into SAMS, and then I would post it. I would change this to maybe contract opportunities, right? So it's just doing that, and then I would search for it here. After I search it, then this will come up. And so I'll hit the heavy equipment rental. Some of the stuff that I'll do here is when I'm looking at this, I want to make sure it's a total set aside, right? So I'm not wasting my time. Look at the place of performance, because that's where we're going to get the subcontractors from. And then I would click this to get the download link, and I would download all of these. And the things that I need to see is I want to see the the statement of work or performance of work, because that lets me know what needs to be done. Or a lot of times, sometimes here it'll have it up here and you can read it. Also, I will take these point of contacts, right? And I will add them to this here, right? So you can see I've added those people here and it's there. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that statement of work, right? So here's the specification sheet of the statement of work. It's telling me what they're looking for, right? Where the equipment needs to be delivered. And then it's basically saying this is what we want, right? So once I got an idea of that, then now, because I know this is what they want, I can go and try to find some subcontractors. Once I get the subcontractors, so once again, where did they want to do this at? They said we want to do this at this place here, which is Mountain Home Air Force Base. So I would go to Mountain Home, and I would pretty much go over here to the internet, and I would type in heavy equipment rental in Mountain Home, Idaho. I'm going to wait for that to come up. Apologize for the right. So then I come here and I get all these places, right? A lot of times I'll click more places, and then I start doing that. A lot of times I might look at the reviews a little bit too, and then I make these phone calls. Now, as I'm making these phone calls, as I said earlier, right, I'm keeping note, right, and I speak with them. So you can see here, it says, hey, I spoke with Jacob, spoke with Sam Morgan at Coastline, and then I emailed this person. And then usually as I'm on the phone, I ask to speak with them, whoever is in charge of the quotes. And then after that, I give them just a quick synopsis as I have this up, and let them know where it's at. They say they can do it. Then I say, awesome. What I want to do is I want to send you an email that has everything listed so you can build out the quote. And then I say, let's say today is Tuesday. I would say I need it by the end of day of Wednesday. They say, okay. Then basically I have an email that's kind of crafted. And so let's see if I have one, go to one that you can see. All right, here's one. So, and this is specifically on here, right? So, I'm trying to see if I have one where, yeah, so you can see here, I sent this email. I said, hey, I'm writing to see if you could give me a quote to complete the job with the workers making the minimum wage requirement. If you feel they are capable of completing the work, the details of the scope of work can be found attached. If you're truly interested, please respond with the words heavy duty equipment in the subject line along with your bid ASAP. And then I kind of put, our signature. And let me see if I can find one that has all the attachments in it real quick. We're doing this live. See if I find it. Let's go here. Subject, heavy equipment, and then has attachments, search. All right, so now you can see, here you go. This is the one that I sent. And then you can see attached, it has the specs, right? And boom, I sent that over. Now, sometimes I will edit the statement of work slightly just because I don't want them to have the contract number. You know, because then that's just going to create more work for ourselves. So I might, if it's something quick that I can edit, I might edit that out. But this is basically what I'll send over to them, and I'll send it to everyone. So I sent it to Rent Big Sky, then I sent the same thing over to Jacob, boom, Sam, and then Steve. All right, so once I sent it, now obviously I'm editing this. If I sent, where it would be at is I reached out, it'll be blue, right? So here I sent these people those emails. Then the next thing that I did is I went over to, so I'm waiting for them. Then they responded back, right? So I started receiving emails from them. And let's see, here's one of the, and so for example, she sent me back, and then here's a quote, right? So once I get those quotes, then I usually go over to this bid worksheet, and I'm putting these in. And so once I put them in, right, it's going to tell me, for example, here, if we're doing the coastline one, it said it was $5,200 for that water truck. Boom, I put in $5,200. Now, this is how much it costs per month, but they wanted it for 4 months. So 4 times that, bam, I get that. And I went ahead, and you can see on the spec sheet, right? I went ahead and did that for each one. And so, boom, here you go. Now, with this sheet, as you're using it, there's usually some margin of error. And because when dealing with the government, you need to have some type of margin because you can't really, you don't know. If you mess up, it's on you. You don't want that to come out of your pocket. So you need a margin. In this case, I kind of have a margin of 10%. So whatever this is, I mark it up 10%. Then, right, this next one, it's going to have a fee, right? So let's say if this was me doing this, right, it'll have a fee. The commission fee is Brian's, right? But I mark this up another 25%. So even though that person is going to get paid out, I want it built into the budget already, so it can afford, and it's not taken away from our profits. Then from there, right, what the company's fee is, I usually do a 15% increase, so we have a 15% margin, and then I'll do one with a 20% margin. And then down here, it gives the total, and then it gives kind of what's the profit for the company, and then the commission that they'll pay out to the person, and that'll be as a marketing fee. So now there'll be some other fees that we take out of this, obviously, because there'll be some admin fees that you got to do to kind of manage the project. But this is basically coming from whatever this total is, right? Because this is our cost, and then our cost minus the fee, right? And that's what the company profits in this scenario. And then you can see it's done for both bid sheet for both of the bids that we got back. Ideally, I like to call maybe like 6 or 7 people. Not everyone's going to get back to me in the time, but I at least have something to be able to submit a bid. And then underneath here, I usually name the who's the person that gave me the bid. So this for this one is Steve. This is the number. It's the cat rental store. And then I usually put the notice ID and then the contracting officer. Now, this is one thing, but sometimes I do this as an initial thing, but I might need to adjust it a little bit because the government wants it in a certain way. And then so a lot of times underneath you might see this same thing, but I had to zero out these items, and I only could use these. So what I do is these are still costs, right? But the government only wants these line items. So what I do is I'll take these numbers, right, which is basically these numbers up here, and then I have to average it along up here so it's spread out and so it's still in the cost. So here you can see I added $366 to each one of these up here, and that's, see, this one's 650. You can see this one is 956, and then I kind of just did it. It's adding it itself. But so now that you know that, right? So then once I do that, then I can build my proposal, right? And so there's a template for the proposal, and that template, right, looks something like this. Once that opens up, so bit of the proposal, basically it can be Mambo. Mambo will always be on there for this company, but whatever your company is, and then from here it's whoever is going to send the proposal, and then this is the contracting officer, right? And let's actually, I'm going to pull up a proposal for this actual one. So let me see if I can find the heavy duty equipment one, since this is already built out and is submitted. Right, so here it is. These are the people that I'm sending it for. This is the company logo. So you want to have the solicitation number. Remember, the solicitation can be found here, right? So put that in there. Then the unique ID, you need to have that if you're going to do government contracting. The KHO, you need to have that. So then I write this up, right? This could be tailored a little bit. For the most part, it's the same, but I need to just make sure it's going towards what we're submitting on this time. Then sincerely, signature, and there we have it, right? This is usually the same. You might need to, you can update it, right? That's simple to do. This is our company, our team. Now I changed this a little bit depending on what the proposal is, right? So if we were doing lawn care service for this, I would say they have a kind of a background in some lawn care service or something to that effect. I could use these team members. This changes, but this is a heavy equipment rental. So now here you can see that this format is a little bit different than what was on the worksheet, and the reason why is because here, let's see if I can find it. This is the actual like how the government said they want it. So it needs to match this, right? CLIN 1, it needs to be this thing. It needs to be exactly that, or they might not accept it. So we don't want to do all the work and then it doesn't get accepted. So going back there, right, you can see it's put into that format, and all I'm doing is I'm lining these up. I put the CLIN, and then I just take, right, whichever one I feel is a good quote out of the 15 or the 20. I take that and I copy it, and then I just basically format it accordingly. Now this here, I kind of this kind of gets customized out a little bit. I look it over. It's the same kind of format, but I look it over to make sure it's making sense as I'm doing it, right? Little tedious, but it's already built out, so I just need to do it. Some of this project scope of work, I literally take it from either the subcontractor will give this to me, or I'll take it from the scope of work that is given here, right? So a lot of this stuff that they're asking, the delivery periods and all of that, right? That's basically, I took that from here and bam, added it into the proposal and just formatted it properly. Then here, if you don't have one reference that I can use is Diversey because I've worked with them. If not that, get the references from whoever you're going to get the heavy equipment from, right? So you can do that, and then this usually stays the same. And then I basically will turn this into a PDF, right? And then now if we were to go back here, you can see the proposal that was sent. I send them over a proposal, and this is going to whoever these people are here, the contracting officer. It's going to the contracting officer. I put in there, I put the notice ID, I put the equipment, and then this is usually the same, just so when it comes time for me to do a search or I need to find this later, hey, I just need the notice ID, I put it in, it'll pull up. So I put the notice ID, then the name of the title. I tell them we're sending this, name of the title, have the signature, attach my proposal, bam, it's off. So that's kind of the workflow that we use. Now, also, if I'm doing a sources sought, like I said earlier, I'll add those in as well. But when I'm doing a sources sought, I also I'll show you what that looks like. That email is a little bit different. And the reason I'll do sources sought is just it allows me to be able to, one, let the contracting officer know that we're interested in doing the work because it's not really a solicitation. They're not looking for a proposal yet. But also it allows us to have a chance to basically win the government contract without having to put in a proposal, right? And not having to compete. But what that'll look like is sent. So these are all the sources sought that I send. A lot of times, this is what one looks out completely bidded out. But one of the things I do to help me do it a little bit faster, and this is the capability statement. Every sources sought that I respond to, I usually send a capability statement. Sometimes just when you're doing it, as you're searching, they might want you to do some extra stuff, and you can, like I said before, if you want to just do sources sought, you would do this. You would do sources sought and pre-solicitation, and then I would just go after those and respond to these, right? And sometimes I update, as you can see, I add those on individually, and then I just go through them, right? And then when it comes time, I'll craft this email. A lot of times, even in the email, I have this preset. I'll do templates, and then I'll just hit the sources sought, and then I'm just inserting this stuff here. So from that, you're able to see the entire workflow, right? Depending where you're seeing this training video, some of you guys might only have to do a certain thing. Some of you guys might do the whole gambit, but that's the workflow depending on what you're assigned to, and I hope that helps. Have a good day.